Hi everyone, and welcome to the week 5 cast assessment for Big Brother Revival. So this week, Shavika won HOH, nominated Dom and Zach. Zach saved himself with Vito, and Alyssa went up. Now it's pre-eviction, but it looks like Dom's going home. So thoughts on Ashvika's HOH? Was it good for her?
Um, I think it was good in the sense that she made her presence known and she did get out of Target and did expose got that group of 8 to kind of disperse. But in the sense of her being targeted in the next few weeks, I feel like it's very likely, especially if one of the like people that she threw the names out to be nominated win power. I think it was an overall really successful, but I do think that she had a little bit of some flaws that could get her in trouble. But I think if she makes it through the next few weeks, then she is set.
Mm. I
Yeah.
think, to be honest, there were kind of eyes on her regardless. Like, Sarah G wanted to target her coming into this week. People felt like Veronica was a waste, so it could have been Ashvika instead. I think her being a potential target coming up hasn't really changed. She's just kind of got out someone that would have done it.
Yeah, I think, in my opinion, I think she should have went after um, Alyssa and Sarah rather than Zach and Dom, because I feel like Zach and Dom could have made a better, like, I don't know, she could have made deals with them or promised them
That's
something,
true.
because she did promise something with Sarah and so it was I'll keep you safe, whatever, but Sarah's still after her. And I feel like
Mm.
Zach and Dom are way more selfish players where as long as they're safe, then they're fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think overall, Ashvika this week was probably going to go home if she didn't win HOH. So it's I think anything she would have done this week would put her in a better position than she was last week. I think if anything, this week gave room for people who are not in that group of 8 to come together, have a week of safety, get out someone who's in that 8-person alliance, and also try to form a plan moving forward of how to get those people out since they are so good at comps. I do think she should have gone after Sarah G in particular, because Sarah G keeps sliding by. She literally, and this is to Sarah's credit, cuts deals and miss people into keeping her when it's really not in their best interest, and has done that twice now.
Mm.
So I really wish Ashvika would have renommed Sarah and said fuck it, because she kind of already did by putting up Dom and Zach. It's they're very good at live comps, and I respect her hustle to do that, because I don't think that was the easy move. I think it was the right move, but then to put up Alyssa as a renom, I guess it is working because Dom's going to go home, and so she's getting out her target. But I think she falsely thinks that she has Sarah G on her side now. When as soon as Alyssa went up, that's basically to Sarah G the same thing as nominating her. So
Yeah.
but also they were coming after Ashvika and Veronica. The plan was to put both of them up, or them two and Julia, some combo, and get out Ashvika or Veronica this week. So I think no matter what, this is a beneficial week for her, and if anything, she's kind of created friction within that group, especially with Bodhi. How Bodhi is kind of against Alyssa and Sarah G now, or at least they're against him. So I think she had a pretty successful week.
Yeah, no, I think she did such a good job pinning Sarah and Bodhi against each other.
Mhm.
She did it in a way where it's kind of undetected, you know what I mean? Because with Shoaib,
Yeah.
it came out that he was obviously pinning everyone against each other, but she did it in a way that kind of left her
Yeah, because she let them come to her. She
mm-hmm,
wasn't
Mm.
oh yeah, this person said this about you, so you should be mad at them. She just was yeah, so here's what's been said, and then they came to her and were renom Bodhi, you know?
yeah.
Mm.
So I think that was smart.
Yeah, I think I think her just winning HOH was really good in that sense, because now that group of 8 is kind of like dead, you know?
Yeah.
I just want to say that like in like through her perspective, throwing the first punch is always a difficult thing to do. While she might have should have taken Saria out, I do believe that like it's still a good blow to land.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for
Because
sure.
regardless, it was gonna be a target, like a big threat that's gonna come. That's most likely probably would have came after her is leaving. I just think that I feel like she could have made more deals in the sense instead of just throwing out like everybody's name, because she threw out like 5 people's name.
Yeah. And I think too that it was kind of a case of like it was so like shocking for her to go from like her number one ally being evicted to like literally calling the shots with everyone else. And so I think that she kind of was like, fuck it, I have power, like I don't have to listen to anyone this week, like I don't have to plea with anyone.
Yeah.
And so I agree that she could have like cut more deals. But I also think it was smart of her to get together the group of her, Veronica, and Julia. Because even though Veronica's not good at comps, Julia certainly is. And having like the 3 of them together is really, really going to help them in this game, because odds are at some point they're going to be like the targets when that other side gets power, and only one of them can leave at a time. So they can really like orchestrate the evictions of a lot of those people if they stick together.
Yeah, no, I think she did a good job, like, keeping, like, the people who aren't in the 8 safe and feel comfortable.
Yeah. Also, I do want to say, I think Veronica has picked up her game so well this week.
Yeah.
I think, considering how down on herself she was and how down on her game she was, the way she snapped back into gear, calling with BC, calling with Alyssa, making connections, I think she's picked it up really impressively.
Yeah, Veronica's snapping this season, and I'll be the first person to call her out when she does something wrong, but like, she literally, like, she's snapping. I don't know, like, because she was in such a bad position where everyone hated her. I think for some, like, strange reason that actually is helping her now, because it makes her seem like less of, like, a threat, because she was so exposed.
I think what she did that's made her come off better is everyone last week was being truthful for like 80% and like keeping a little bit secret. Veronica just spilled everything. She completely made it clear it was a blank canvas, whereas like Sarah G was keeping it a secret that they listened into Bodhi's calls, and Alyssa was keeping that secret as well. Like Veronica was the only one to be completely straight up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think she's like, and she stopped being like, oh, I don't want to be here, like I'm only playing this game for this person and that person. So I think like the strategy of using that, whether that was a strategy or whether that was just genuinely how she felt, like I don't think that it's going to long-term impact her, because she isn't doing that anymore. Like now she's here and she's playing, and you know, so I don't know. That's very interesting. I think someone else who's like playing really well is Yosef. Like he's so perfectly positioned on both sides to where like when Julia, Ashvika, and Veronica were calling, being like, oh, like who can we rope in for like a resistance alliance? They're like, oh, Yosef 100%. Like he's in.
Yeah, like
I also think. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, the way he would, this was so funny, the way he would leak Sarah G's answers to Ashvika was iconic. That was so funny.
Yeah, he's really killing it. Like, I don't think that, like, people will, even if people, like, discover that, like, he's doing all this, I don't think anyone would be, like, mad or, like, shocked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they're all, like, everyone also is just very, like, pleased by him socially, if that makes sense. Like, everyone, like, wants to be his friend, like, all this stuff. So I think he's in just, like, a really, really good place strategically and socially right now that I don't think is gonna go anywhere.
I see him being last one nominated for sure at the moment.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Unless something crazy happens.
And he is so close, not that close, but like halfway there to getting a little power.
Oh yeah, with the
T.
I don't know what, like, since he's in this like really good middle position. If that extends to when he gets it, I don't know what he's gonna do with that. But that's exciting.
Yeah. I agree. I think it'll be interesting to see what he does moving forward. The other person who I kind of like low-key forgot that they were in the game, and I'm not really sure what they're up to. I need to watch a DR, but BC,
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mhm.
because he was involved in the 8-person alliance, but he doesn't seem super like caught up in it, you know?
Yeah, which I think is a good thing for him because whenever
Yeah.
it gets like, well, I mean, it already is out, but like, whenever things like go down, like he won't really be like targeted. I think he is doing a good job of just like, aligning with his people, staying out of the drama, like keeping himself safe. I think he's like another person that's probably in one of the best positions because I don't think anybody's gonna come after him anytime soon.
Yeah, I agree.
Mm. And if he goes up, he'll be next to Bodhi, and Bodhi will leave.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, he's
Yeah.
positioned very well.
Yeah, I think, and especially since it's like pre-jury, like I think he's doing a really good job just like laying low and like,
Mm-hmm.
but being more of a presence than like the people who are really underestimated.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
he has a really good trajectory. I think he's guaranteed jury.
Yeah. And then so this week Zach went up and he won the veto and saved himself, which is like kind of rewarding to see just because he did go 15th during week 5 in Kalos.
Mm.
But I honestly I don't really know like where he stands in the game. Like I wonder if he's just going to go up again or if like he's built sufficient like connections to keep him in, because it feels like Yosef and like Dom were like his main people, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think him losing Dom this week is really good for him. I think he can kind of slide on by more, and he does have connections with like he is close with like Roxy and like Yosef, and so like I feel like I don't know, it'll be interesting to see if he can like get his footing back and kind of get in more with like the other people, because honestly, like if I were him, I try to like get in with like the resistant alliance that like is trying to be formed,
Yeah.
because
He is not in the core.
yeah, and like I don't know, anyone that like is in the game could kind of see that he's not really like completely in with all of them.
I kind of see him, and I don't know if this comparison actually is accurate because I didn't fully follow this season, but being like Lucky and Alola, where he's kind of on the outs, wins competitions, his alliance got exposed really early on, and he kind of makes it to like 8th to 10th kind of place.
Yeah,
I don't know if that comparison's actually accurate.
I think that's a good like where he's placed in the game, but I think Zach is way more social and will way be able to like position himself to make it work out in his favor.
Something else that's like interesting in this game is that like it's not the same noms every week. Like it's been, I think like 13 people have been nominated. I don't know if that's and every week like 3 noms have been made. So I think like being nominated and like either saving yourself or being nominated and surviving the block like decreases your chances of going up again in this game. So I think Zach like might be able to minimize his threat level because he was nominated and targeted. But yeah, I agree. I see like the same kind of trajectory for him. I don't know though. I think he could like snap and win. Like I wouldn't write him off necessarily. I'm just like really impressed by Sarah G, I have to say. Like
I agree.
I'm just like, what? Like I would have never expected this from her. Like she is completely like it like makes no sense how she's like off the block, and how like when people win HOH, like they promise her like Ashvika won HOH and was like, "You're safe, girl, don't worry." And it's like, what? Like how?
Like someone said it in the VL, but the fact that there was an alliance of 4 threats, like Zach, Alyssa, Sarah G, and Dom. The fact that Sarah G was the only one to not touch the block and is still the only one to have never touched the block of that alliance is crazy and very, very impressive.
Yeah, like she had a failed backdoor plan, has won 2 HOHs, like literally has tried to target 2 of the last 2 HOHs, and was not even like really even in consideration either time for going up on the block. So I think that's really like good for her. Obviously.
I think this game is just so like dynamic to a sense, and like things are always so volatile that like it allows someone like Sarah, someone who is just so crazy, to like thrive in this type of setting.
Yeah. I think her reputation helps her too, because people like are like, oh, that's just Sarah G. She's like a troll and she's annoying. And so I think to some extent, and I think I've said this on multiple cast assessments, but like people who are hated by the VL or like that people think are like whatever, I think they do better in these games just because subconsciously on some level people are like, oh, if the VL doesn't stand this person, then like they're not playing that good of a game, even though that's definitely not like ever the case, like because the VL doesn't know what's going on. But I think that it always helps, and people who have like that support, like Alyssa and other people, like they're perceived to be bigger threats than they are because of it.
Yeah, which is really strange. Like I would have never, like, if I was in the game, like I wouldn't really care who the VL.
Yeah. But
stands.
to some extent, like when we used to do Jokers every week, like people would look at that too. Like even before we were on Discord with the names and all of that, like for some reason, like the viewer aspect of it, like every season at least plays a role during like one part of the season.
I think, speaking of Alyssa as well, she's someone who I'm kind of interested to see where she goes, because everyone, as she's aware of, is just considering her like Sarah G's extra person, and she's kind of, at the moment, seen as just such a social threat, so I'm kind of interested to see what happens with her, because I can't really tell.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know what's gonna happen with her. Like, my fear for her is that she's kind of like right now in a position where she's very vulnerable and she's in a group associated with a lot of threats, and like should, like, this week she's fine because of how just like the numbers are working out, but like should she be nominated next to someone like Sarah G in the next few weeks, like I don't know if she'd stay, like knowing what we know about how Sarah G's played this game and like with the crystals and everything. So I think Alyssa has a lot to prove, like moving into the next few weeks, but she's definitely like playing well. She's playing better than she did in Galar, so I think she just has to like make a name for herself, like win an HOH or like get into someone's ear and do something.
Yeah, but I mean, it is still pre-jury, so I do understand like just wanting to like kind of stay
Especially
in the clear.
being a final nom.
Yeah.
Like, just to be careful. It's also kind of sad seeing Ashvika nominate her, just because, like, I know that Alyssa really wanted to play with Ashvika and that they were kind of like vibing at the start, and now I feel like they're going to be mortal enemies.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad, but
it's that, and it's also this weird Alyssa versus Bodhi rivalry that's kind of growing, where Bodhi was going to push for Alyssa to go, and then he stopped doing that now for some reason, and now it's kind of like that's going to kind of come to the surface, I think, really soon.
yeah, I don't know what's going to happen to Bodhi either. He's someone who I'm like he's playing very messy, but like it's working. Like I just think, like Randy said, like this is just a game where like you can be really messy, and like since there's so much mess, it's not a big deal.
I do think it's going to catch up to him though. I think early jury he's going to get backdoored and sent packing.
Yeah, I think it depends on who's gonna win HOH, because I feel like Bodhi can be a sacrificial lamb to a certain extent.
Yeah. I'm trying to see who we haven't talked about. What is Chloe doing?
She's
anyone
popping off. That's
know?
what she's doing. Chloe is doing so good. I love it.
I don't know. I don't think anyone in the game knows. I think because like Louise and Roxy are considered on the same level as Chloe, but they're doing more. Like Chloe's just kind of chilling.
I feel like that's a good position to be in, though, when there is so much mess. Sometimes just staying away from the mess is the best position you could be in.
Yeah, especially with her history, like I understand like why she'd want to maintain like a lower profile, because she is like someone who's been kind of like the messy like scapegoat kind of person, so I kind of feel that.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, like, what she's doing. And I feel like maybe once Dom goes, it'll kind of like wake her up. I could definitely see her just being an easy nom one of these weeks, because I feel like people are using like Louise, Elijah, Roxy as like numbers, whereas Chloe, they're just like, what's Chloe doing? I feel like they already just like or decided that she's with that group when she really isn't.
Wait, which group?
Like the 8-person.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, see, I don't even know what group, because I don't know anything. Like, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think Chloe's in a unique position, but should she get power, like, I feel like she could, like, recenter herself. She's not playing a bad game, I just think she's kind of just, like, laying low.
Yeah.
I think in general, the one thing that's a bit frustrating is, particularly on the calls with combinations of the 8-people alliance, is they kind of shit on, like, Chloe, Roxy, Elijah, Louise, and it's like, they're not playing bad, they're just not being given, like, as much, like, rope to play with, like, as much, like, stuff to do. And, like, Roxy's playing hard, Louise is playing, like, even Elijah is. So I think the people in the 8 need to realize that they are players rather than just saying, oh, they're just the inactive. They're just going to fill up spaces in June. Like, see them as the
Yeah, because like
they are.
especially with the Anthony and Autumn vote, like without them 3, like that vote would have never happened. And like they were the ones, they were like, I want to make a big move. I want to do this. Like I want to go against what the HOH wants. And like they really went off. And the fact that people just like write them off when like literally like they're so stupid for believing that they just voted and they just did it for the crystal. Like I don't know.
No,
like
I'm so glad you guys brought that up. Like every time they're like, oh yeah, she's just gonna nominate the inacts. It's like there is no one inactive in this game. Like sure, like some people are definitely calling more than others, but like I think it's fair to say that every single person is at least playing the game like for themselves. Like there's no one who's just like here for the ride. Like as Julia, you just said, like they voted against the HOH's wishes to make a move, to put themselves on the map. And like fine, they haven't won a comp, but like the people who write them off are the people who are gonna get like fucked. Like to be honest, because especially now that like the past few weeks, like Shoaib, presumably Dom, are gone, like Elijah, Roxy, Louise, Chloe, Julia, the people that they kind of shit on for being quote inactive, like they're gonna be a third of the cast, like over a third of the cast. So like you need to use them and work with them and stop. Like it's kind of frustrating, the 8-person thing where like all of their alliances are literally just like different combinations of the same 3 to 4 people from that group. And if I was in this game, I would be scooping them up. And that's why I think Ashvika, Veronica, and Julia are so smart to be like, let's each target 1 or 2 of like Louise, Chloe, BC, like these like straggler players, and try to get them on our side. And even though they don't have like alliances with them, like they're putting their tentacles out, so to speak, to like bring them in, instead of being like, oh, these are just the inactives, you know?
Yeah.
So, trying to see. There was something else I was gonna bring up. Yeah, I don't know. I do like my worry is that once we get into like a jury phase, that a lot of the people who are like in that 8-person group slash like a few other are going to be very like dismissive of the other players. Like, should they make it far, like farther than them, and be like, oh, awful, like, you know.
Mhm.
But I guess,
It has the potential to be kind of like Ori, where it was like the kind of most low key people were at the end, and then everyone kind of like shat on them. I say them as if I wasn't one of them, but like it has that kind of potential, I think.
yeah,
I mean, I guess I can give it through like some of my perspective, like in Ori, like returning and then making it so far, just to like have like, even in like Galar too, like to have low key people get far when you have people like the 8-person alliance like battling until they die, like that's very frustrating from their perspective. So that's something that like, has to like be considered.
Yeah.
yeah. I do think that like in general, like watching the sequester mini that happened kind of reminded me of this, where it's like the goal of the game is to make it to the end and to get people to vote for you. It's not to like play like the best game, I guess. It's to play the winning game. Like, to make it to the end. You can't win if you don't make it to the end. And so I think a lot of times, like, especially like now that I think of it, like Passio, Galar, a lot of these seasons, people like are like, well, you didn't play like the flashiest game, and it's like, yeah, that wasn't the point. The point is to make it to the end and play a better game than the person sitting next to you and win, essentially. And so I think this season has potential where like all of the quote unquote like heavy hitters, people who are winning a lot of comps and are very like over the top in the game, like have the potential to take each other out, and then these other people are going to thrive because no one was looking at them, they were looking at each other.
Well, like to rebuttal that, I mean, like people obviously came back to this game to win, but they also came back for it for like to a certain extent for the glory of it. Like, I like sympathize with Sarah G. Like she is going hard, and like she's gonna go hard from start to finish. That's something I didn't go hard. Like, I don't know, like I don't know, it sounds bad, but like it's just like they want to play like this glorified winning game that dominates throughout the season. They want to prove that they can steamroll, and it's just like, yeah, you can make it to the end, and like you can be more low-key and stuff, but it's just like when you have everyone else in the room like going guns a-blazing, and you have people just there twiddling their thumbs relatively, it's just like it gets infuriating, and it's just like people do this mostly for like the glory of it. So if that makes any sense, I know.
Yeah, no, I get that. I just think then, like, if that's like your mindset in the game, then you should get out the people who are twiddling their thumbs and work with the people who are like
Yeah, it's definitely like a
that's
paradox.
how you want to play the game, then like, but I don't know, I think that's like fair points.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, and then finally Anthony, like like I'm shook. Like Sarah G backdoor. I was thinking about this morning in the shower. I was like, Sarah G backdoored him. Then, and maybe this is just because I wasn't around much last week, so I didn't really like. I wasn't here for like the jump from that to like where we are now, and now they're buddy buddy. And Anthony's also working with Ashvika and Yosef, but is also working with. I feel like he's like trying to play the same game as Yosef, but like not like he's playing it well, but like not as well as Yosef. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think if like something happens and they get exposed, like Yosef and Anthony are gonna go on the block, but people are gonna be more mad at Anthony, and then he's gonna go.
I think because the thing is, Yosef isn't letting Anthony play the middle game. That's the difference. Like, Yosef is telling Ashvika that Anthony's playing both sides, and Yosef is consciously not letting Anthony do the same thing, whereas Anthony's just kind of letting Yosef do his thing, which is the difference.
Yeah.
Which is smart, because there's only so much room in the middle, you know?
Yeah. It's very interesting to watch that happen, because it's like, especially with like the whole thing last night, from what I saw, was like Anthony was campaigning to get Bodhi on the block on behalf of like Sarah G and Alyssa, And then like Yosef was telling Ashvika like he's just doing this to like benefit his alliance. So like that was kind of interesting to watch. Um, oh yeah, also it was kind of weird how like Ashvika knows about the 8-person alliance, but then no one, when they were like pleading to her, this is what I thought was interesting, was like when Zach and like everyone was pleading to her to like stay off the block, they were like, yeah, I don't really have anyone in the game, like whatever, like I don't have good social connections. When like I feel like at that point it was abundantly clear that like a huge group had formed last week for Joy to go, you know?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, like, I guess it's because you're like optimistic and you're like, maybe I can push her this way. But I mean, like, Ashvika isn't stupid, so.
Yeah. I feel like Ashvika's kind of fallen into the same position that she played in Ore and also in Unova, where like she's kind of aligned with the underdogs of the house, like except this time I feel like in comparison to Ore, like she has a lot more people who are like very beneficial for her game, like people who aren't, like I feel like she has like a better chance this time because the people who she kind of like roped as her goats like weren't as like good. I don't know if that's like insulting, but
no, like I think it's true. Like I think as one of Ashvika's sheep in the past, like I think this time she's in much more immediate danger because people are much more onto her as this kind of queen of the underdogs. But I think if she makes it past the next week or so, she has Julia Nicole who can win comps. She has Yosef wanting to keep her around, and Anthony. Like she has the people she needs.
It's like right now she's very big target, but as time progresses and there's less and less people, eventually they're gonna have to look at like, let's say Julia Nicole and be like, she can win competitions way more likely than Ashvika, and eventually I feel like Ashvika is making great bonds with future threats in the house that in the later game she's gonna reap the rewards.
I agree.
well, we just have one more week of pre-jury after this, so it should be interesting. Who were I think all of our winner picks are still in, is that? Yeah.
Team Julia Nicole.
So that's
Better
good.
than Passio.
Yeah.
I think we're on our third winner pick at this point in Passio.
Yeah, it was like all of ours had been evicted, some twice. Like, yeah. Alright, well, I guess that's about it.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Now I feel brought up to speed. Huh?